An Australian court has found Vatican Treasurer Cardinal George Pell guilty of child sexual offenses. He faces a total of 5 charges for offenses committed against 13-year-old boys. The crimes happened when he was Archbishop of St. Patrick's Cathedral in Melbourne 22 years ago. The verdict was made public Tuesday after a court order banning media reporting of the trial was lifted. Pell had pleaded not guilty to all 5 charges. He is expected to be sentenced the first week of March. Emma O'Sullivan is a reporter for our Australian partner Network 10, and she joins me now on the phone. So, Emma, remind us why this conviction is so significant in the broader church sex abuse scandal.
Hello, Elaine. This is so significant in that broader sense because Cardinal George Pell is the 3rd most senior Catholic in the world. Not only did he hold high positions of power within the church in Australia, where he was a very well-known public figure, but he was elevated to the role of cardinal. He was part of the C9, the inner circle of the Pope's 9 advisors. And he was also effectively the Vatican's treasurer, given an inaugural position to clean up the Vatican's finances. So that is why this is going to be so newsworthy around the world. And finally, Australian media have been free to report to audiences that this happened in December. A jury of 12 people convicted George Cardinal Pell of 5 charges, and that was related to abusing 2 13-year-old choir boys in the 1990s in a cathedral in Melbourne.
And now that the details about this trial have been made public, what else do we know now about these accusations made against the Cardinal?
Well, we know that the man who was at the centre of the trial, the victim, it took him decades to come forward. He said he was only 13 years old at the time and he didn't really understand what had happened to him, and we know that's also typical of abuse survivors. But what makes this case extraordinary is that it was the word of one victim against George Pell, who was always strenuously denied that he did anything of this kind. So his evidence, it was given in a closed court via video link. The media weren't present, but it must have been very powerful and persuasive for the jury to take his word against the Cardinal. George Pell was convicted of abusing not only this man, but also his friend. That second victim passed away 5 years ago. And Elaine, he never made an official complaint. It was the word of the living victim that was enough for the jury.
Interesting. Well, what did we find out about the arguments made by Cardinal George Pell's defense team?
So they had argued during the trial that these allegations were a fantasy, that they simply didn't happen. The trial centred around a lot of evidence about what was George Pell's practice when he was Archbishop after giving Sunday Mass, because the victim testified that it was immediately after Sunday Mass when there would have been hundreds of people still milling around when this abuse took place.
Well, and what can we expect, Emma, now to come from his sentencing next week?
So tomorrow is a pre-sentence hearing, and that is where both sides, both the defence and the prosecution, will make submissions about whether or not George Pell should go to jail, but he is certainly facing jail time. The Chief Judge of Victoria's County Court in Melbourne has always said that tomorrow is the day he plans to remand George Pell in custody to await sentence. So tomorrow will be the day where we might get a sense of how long he is due to serve behind bars, and then he'll be sentenced at a later date.
All right, Emma O'Sullivan. Emma, thank you very much.